Yes, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm doing well, thanks.
Okay, lovely. So you're currently doing an engineering degree apprenticeship with Dyson. What was
Yeah.
most appealing to you for going down that degree apprenticeship route rather than that older and more traditional route of studying engineering at uni?
So I did actually apply to university as well, and I was considering both options at the time. Although I did want to do the apprenticeship route as I wouldn't have to pay university fees. I'd get to have work experience alongside my degree, and of course, with most apprenticeships, you earn a salary as well. So I think yeah, all those things were definitely more appealing to me than a standard university experience.
Okay, lovely. So, just like you've mentioned, degree apprenticeships are great. You're earning, you're learning, and I guess in most cases, you're quite likely guaranteed a job as well. But it is a very competitive process. So, tell us about the application process you went through for your degree apprenticeship.
Yeah, so the application process is generally quite long for most apprenticeships. But as long as you prepare beforehand, it's not too bad. So for my apprenticeship, first off, I had to send my CV, my grades, and my personal statement. I took a gap year, so I already had my grades. If you don't, you normally send your predicted grades. And after that, you have a few online assessments. So they usually involve some sort of aptitude test or mathematical test for me, because my apprenticeship is in engineering, and then some written questions as well. And if you pass through that, you get to have a phone interview. And finally, there's some sort of assessment day where you have another sort of in person interview, which probably wouldn't happen now in COVID. But yeah, you'd have a in-person interview and some more sort of assessments at the place.
Definitely sounds like quite a lengthy process with lots of stages. Are there any tips that you can give young people that would help them to stand out of that application process or help them during the application process?
I think the main thing is to try your best to prepare beforehand and speak to teachers or other people in professional careers that they've worked in a professional environment, so that see if they can help you.
Okay, lovely. We've touched on a few positives of degree apprenticeships already, but I guess one of the challenges is that aspect of managing your time between working and studying. How do you find that balance between working and studying?
I think for me, time management has been probably the most difficult part of it. As part of an apprenticeship, not only are you doing university work, you're also doing work in an office or as part of a company, and you really do have to balance both. For with Dyson, it helps quite a lot that our time is split up. So usually I have 2 days a week where I'm doing my university work, I have my lectures, and I'm working on assignments and the sort, and then the other 3 days I'm in the office working with the team. So that helps split it up quite nicely.
Okay, lovely. So you do get allocated days for studying and working. I
Yeah.
guess with degree apprenticeships being fewer in number compared to university places, it is likely that you have to live out. How did you find that transition from Luton to Bristol, and how do you find living out on top of studying and working?
I think living out can be quite a daunting prospect. Although for a lot of young people, I'm sure they're looking forward to living out and having their own freedom and independence. I think it's definitely difficult at first. However, with time, you kind of get used to it. Just make sure you know your basics, learn how to cook beforehand, so you're not completely stranded and not knowing what to do.
Okay, lovely. And in regards to the accommodation itself, is that something you were in charge of finding, or did it come with your package?
So in my first year, I had an accommodation on site, which is quite nice. It meant less stress having to find somewhere to live. I'm not sure about other apprenticeships, but I think generally university students will live on campus for the first year, so it was a similar experience to that. And now I'm in my second year, so I had to find my own accommodation, but it wasn't as bad as some would expect. It is actually not too difficult.
Okay, lovely. I guess that on-site accommodation you had in your first year helps with that university campus feel. So you can still socialise with other young people who are doing the same apprenticeship program as you are, while still giving you that university-like experience. Lovely. So you mentioned you're now in your second year of doing your degree apprenticeship. What's been the most challenging aspect so far, or the most surprising thing you've faced so far?
I think definitely the most challenging thing was trying to balance my work and study life balance initially, although with time I've sort of gotten used to it. Another thing was trying to fit in a team at work. Being much younger than most of the team doesn't really help, and you find that you're quite nervous at first, but eventually you realize that the rest of the team they're happy to have you, and you fit in quite nicely.
Okay, great. And how was the experience in terms of the work aspect? How hands-on did you get with the projects when you first started your degree apprenticeship?
It's very hands-on. So it's pretty much what you'd expect from working with the company after your degree. It's pretty much exactly the same.
Okay, great. And I guess when you have a lot of responsibility quite early on, can be quite stressful or overwhelming sometimes. So, what's the support network like, the support system to kind of ensure the workload doesn't get the better of you?
So the support system would be quite similar to traditional university. You'd have a student support advisor. With an apprenticeship, you also have the addition of an apprenticeship advisor who will help you if you have any issues at work. You'll also have student reps for the office as well as student reps for university. So there's plenty of help.
Okay, great. And in terms of your degree apprenticeship that you're doing with Dyson in engineering, is it quite restrictive in the engineering sectors it can lead to, or is it quite broad?
For my apprenticeship with Dyson, it is quite broad. So we have the option of specializing after our second year to go into different fields of engineering. Our options are mechanical, software, and electrical, so quite broad.
Okay, great. So tell us about a little bit about a typical week for an engineering student doing a degree apprenticeship with Dyson. What kind of hours do you do? What do your daily tasks consist of?
So Monday and Tuesday, I'll have my university days, and that's usually split up half into lectures and half into self-study, where I'll do revision, go over lectures and assignments. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll either be in the office or working from home now due to COVID, and working with the team on various projects. Usually each project would last up to 3, 4 months.
Okay, lovely. You've mentioned you're currently working from home. With engineering being quite practical and hands-on, how has that remote experience been in terms of your degree apprenticeship?
So my projects have shifted to be more software orientated, although if needed, if I did have to go back to the office, I could still go during COVID.
Okay, lovely. And what advice would you give to young people listening who are interested in taking up a degree apprenticeship in engineering? Is there anything a student in high school or college can do now?
I think as it is quite competitive, don't rely on just your grades. Definitely try to do extracurricular stuff as well. For engineering, maybe work on some programming. There's loads of courses online which you can learn. And don't be afraid to apply really. Do your research. There's plenty of websites online for apprenticeships. So definitely do your research and try to apply as much as you can.
Okay, lovely. You touched on some really great points there. The aspect of the practical nature of it, it's not just about the academic side, it is about the practical side as well. And we have spoken about upskilling through coding already. What kind of coding programs or software do you use in your engineering that a young person can probably get more prior knowledge on now? Are there any key programming software that they can start using now?
So with my university course, we're learning MATLAB and we use that quite a lot in the office as well. I think Python is quite a useful and broad programming language that everyone should learn. It's definitely useful in the office.
Okay, lovely. So there's some ideas for young people to just kind of have a think about what kind of coding programs are typically used in engineering fields. And like Avaes said, there are a lot of great resources out there online. Our previous guest, Angelina, has an Instagram coding page, which is also designed to kind of help young people brush up on the coding skills and to just really upskill themselves. And I think you touched on another great point as well of us about speaking to people who are already in the field. Use this time to network. People like Avaes who are in that field can give you a really good insight that perhaps a Google search might not be able to offer you. Okay, lovely. And just in the last kind of minute of us, any kind of key takeaway? You've given some really great advice already. If there was one kind of takeaway advice for young people listening, what would it be?
I think a lot of young people often see university as their only option, and I hope me speaking on this gives some idea that there are other options out there. Even if not a degree apprenticeship, there are other apprenticeships available in not only engineering but other fields as well. They're not often publicized too well, so you do have to do a bit of digging, but definitely do your own research, look online, see what you can find, and you'd be surprised what you can find.
Okay, lovely. That's really, really brilliant advice. Avaes, thank you for your time and for sharing that experience with us and giving us an insight.
Thank you for having me.